Are you planning on adding a large pergola, a gazebo, or deck structure, but worried about the challenge of creating concrete footings in your existing concrete patio? Hey everybody, I'm Justin, a Remodelaholic, and in this video, I will be showing you how to install concrete pier footings under an existing concrete patio. Existing patios are the perfect place to add an additional structure for your outdoor living space. My client wanted to add a pergola structure over an existing patio to enhance their backyard. I designed a pergola to fit over it, but I wanted to make sure that it was on a strong foundation, so I installed pier footings. These pier footings not only work well for a pergola, but would also work well for deck footings too. I had the local building department approve the design, and I applied for a building permit before I got started. I needed to know that the footings were going to be up to the local building codes and strong enough for the design. You would need to first consult with an engineer and have plans approved before installing your footings to make sure that they are big enough for the project. For this project, the footings are going to be a minimum of 8 inches wide and a little bit more than 30 inches deep. The size would vary depending on the type of structure that you are building. The frost line in my area is 30 inches, and the footing must be below the frost line to avoid heaving in winter when the ground freezes. I will also have a link in the description to a detailed blog post about all the tools I used and more tips about this topic. Once you get everything approved, it's now time to get to work. Locate the center of each footing with an X and keep the layout square between the corner of each post. Use the 3-4-5 rule to keep things square. So a square layout works by measuring 3 feet from the center corner footing on the x-axis and 4 feet from the corner on the y-axis. And then the measurement will be 5 feet on the diagonal between the 2 points, the 3-foot and the 4-foot marks. Then your layout will be square. There are a couple of options when it comes to cutting the concrete for the footings. The first would be to use an angle grinder and a hammer drill to cut out the concrete for the footing hole. This option works best to cut out a square of concrete about 10 to 12 inches wide, then removing and breaking out the concrete in small pieces. The second option would be to rent or hire a concrete core drill to cut a nice clean hole in the concrete. I hired mine out at about $100 per hole. It was worth every penny because of how clean and easy the hole was created. You do have to drill an additional hole in the concrete to help anchor the drill, but you can patch that after it's done. I wanted to rent an auger to dig the holes, but started hand digging first to get an idea of the soil conditions that I was dealing with. It ended up being a loamy clay soil without any big rocks, which was really good soil to be digging in. I ended up just hand digging them all out because it was so easy, and it took me about a half an hour per hole. I used a wheelbarrow to haul away the extra soil. You could use the soil in your yard if you have a place for it. Once all the holes were cut, you can prep any rebar that needs to be suspended before pouring the concrete. My design required a 28-inch number 4 rebar in the center 3 inches above the bottom of the hole for added tensile strength. We suspended them on a piece of scrap wood and baling wire. Then removed the wire and the wood once it was centered in the footing. Once all the pieces of rebar were suspended, I was able to call and have the inspector come and improve the holes. I decided to just dig the holes slightly bigger than required for the footing width and depth. The soil conditions held up the size of the hole pretty well, and I didn't need to use a sonotube for the footing. If the soil was more loose and sandy, then I might have had to use a sonotube as an option to keep a more uniform concrete footing. It's a good idea to create a protective layer while mixing and pouring the concrete over the existing patio. I used an old sheet of plywood with an 8-inch hole under the wheelbarrow while pouring to keep from making a mess over the existing concrete. You could use a mixer or just mix it by hand like we did. Just follow the instructions on the bag to get the right amount of water per bag. I used a concrete calculator online to help with the exact amount of concrete per hole. We used about 2.5 bags of 80-pound concrete per hole. After the concrete sits and cures for a bit, you can smooth out the top. I used a small trowel to level the top of the footing to the existing concrete patio, bringing the creamy concrete to the top for a nicer finish. So that is how you install a concrete footing under an existing patio With the proper supplies and a bit of work, you can safely and easily install concrete footings into an existing concrete patio. With these simple steps, you can make a large pergola, gazebo, or deck structure look its best and ensure that it's securely in place. Now that you've learned how easy it is to install concrete footings into an existing concrete patio, it's time to get started on your own project. Be sure to like this video and share it. Leave us a comment below with any questions, and we would love to know how your project turned out as well. You can click here to see a full process of the building of the pergola on top of these concrete footings that I made. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.